Did you know that the world produces over 20 million tons of sunflower oil every year? That's so much oil that if you lined up 1-liter bottles of it side by side, you could circle the Earth almost 4 times. And yet, few people truly imagine how this golden liquid is born from a flower that is both delicate and incredibly powerful. Behind every drop, there are machines that crush thousands of seeds per minute, extreme temperatures, and an industrial process worthy of a futuristic laboratory. And what's most impressive is that producing just 1 liter of oil requires almost 3 kilograms of seeds. How do nature and engineering manage to transform something as fragile as a flower into such a pure, stable, and essential product in our kitchens? Today, you'll delve into the fascinating odyssey that transforms a field of flowers into millions of perfectly clear bottles of oil. From planting to pressing, from refining to bottling, you'll discover the spectacle hidden behind the supermarket shelf. Before embarking on this fascinating journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel now, because the behind-the-scenes look at the industry is just beginning. And today's episode is likely to surprise you. Before a single drop of oil exists, it all starts in fields that resemble yellow seas, stretching as far as the eye can see. The sunflower is not just a beautiful flower, it's a veritable natural powerhouse of vegetable oil. Each of its seeds contains on average up to 45% fat, an extremely high figure for a cultivated plant. The varieties used are chosen with almost scientific precision. Some varieties produce more oil, while others are more resistant to cold, drought, or disease. In Europe, cultivation is concentrated mainly in regions with dry, sunny climates, where the flowers follow the sun like natural antennae in search of energy. But the real secret to modern productivity is technology. Drones fly over the plots to measure soil moisture, and plant development is detected in advance, identifying areas of stress. GPS-guided tractors sow seeds with centimeter-level precision, ensuring that each seed has exactly the space it needs to grow. And there's an amazing detail. Sunflowers are among the plants capable of cleaning the soil by absorbing certain heavy metals, which helps improve soil quality for subsequent crops. In other words, in addition to producing oil, they contribute to the regeneration of their surrounding environment. When the flowers mature and the petals begin to fall, it's a sign that the oil has formed inside the seeds. In just 100 days, a field that was once green and blooming is transformed into tons of raw material, ready to be mechanically harvested. A well-managed hectare can yield up to 1,500 liters of oil, enough to fill about 3,000 family-sized bottles. This is the first link in an impressive chain that you'll follow until the end of this video. When the sunflower field reaches its ideal stage, the landscape changes completely. The flowers, once upright towards the sky, are now bent, heavy with seeds. It is at this moment that the procession of the gigantic combine harvesters begins. These machines are veritable agricultural behemoths, weighing over 10 tons. Their cutter bars advance like metal jaws, swallowing hundreds of heads of corn per minute. Inside the harvester, a succession of threshers, fans, and sieves perform work of incredible precision. The seeds are separated from the dry stems, leaves, and debris. A system of vibrating screens and conveyors transports, shakes, and sorts everything until virtually nothing but seeds remain. In a single workday, one machine can harvest the equivalent of dozens of football fields. The collected seeds are unloaded into large trailers that transport them to the primary processing plants, where the drying phase begins. The goal is to reduce the seed's natural moisture content to around 8%, the ideal level to prevent mold growth and preserve oil quality. The hot air circulating through the long metal drying tunnels can reach 70 degrees Celsius, enough to remove excess moisture without compromising the oil's richness. Once this stage is completed, the sounds of the fields give way to the roar of the factory. The seeds are now ready for the most intense phase of the process, oil extraction, where tons of seeds are passed through machines capable of exerting forces that would literally crush ordinary steel. Now that the seeds are dry and cleaned, they enter the true heart of the factory, a world where pressure, heat, and engineering combine to release the oil locked within each seed. The first stage involves high-speed rotating steel mills or rollers, which transform the seeds into fine flakes. This preparation is crucial. The flatter the seed, the more efficiently the oil is extracted. These flakes are then sent to enormous continuous presses, long metal cylinders, sometimes several tens of meters long. Inside, augers, compression segments, and pressure chambers work together to progressively press the material. The force exerted can exceed 400 tons per square centimeter. It is so intense that the oil appears to bleed from the seeds, escaping through small openings, while the dry press cake, the solid residue, is expelled at the other end. The resulting golden liquid is collected in trays and directed to settling tanks, where gravity takes its course. The heavier solid particles settle to the bottom, while the oil floats to the surface. Meanwhile, the oil cake is not discarded. It will be used as animal feed or as a raw material for other industries. Nothing is lost. Everything is reused. And to measure the scale of the operation, one figure is enough. In just 1 hour, an industrial press line can process over 100 tons of seeds, extracting up to 45,000 liters of crude oil. The atmosphere is unique. Constant heat, the smell of toasted seeds, and the continuous hum of motors and gears. Everything is designed to extract the maximum from each seed before the oil moves on to the next stage, refining. There, the still dark and fragrant liquid becomes clear and neutral. The oil that comes out of the presses is nothing like the clear, shiny liquid you're familiar with. It arrives in the refining tanks thick, dark, with a strong taste and smell of roasted seeds. It is in this part of the factory that the true alchemy of purification begins, where each step plays a very specific role. The first phase is called neutralization. A solution of caustic soda, sodium hydroxide, is mixed with the crude oil. This chemical reaction captures free fatty acids and certain impurities, forming a kind of soap that is then removed by washing with hot water. After this step, the oil becomes softer, less acidic, and more stable. The next step is bleaching. A special clay called bleaching earth is added to the oil. This powder has the ability to absorb colored pigments, certain phospholipid residues, and other undesirable compounds. The mixture is maintained at approximately 90 degrees Celsius in closed tanks, under constant stirring, and then filtered through steel plate filters. The impurity-laden soil remains trapped in the filters, while the now clearer oil continues on its way. At this stage, it has already gained in transparency, but it still retains a very identifiable signature, its scent. Because yes, each oil has its own unique aroma. In the case of sunflower oil, the aroma is reminiscent of roasted seeds, with a slight smoky note. However, for many food applications, a neutral oil, almost without taste or odor, is desired. This is the role of the next step, deodorization, which literally erases the oil's olfactory memory. Even after refining, sunflower oil must undergo one final technological test before it can grace the shelves: deodorization. This is the finishing touch of the purification process, a delicate balance of extreme heat, high vacuum, and contact time controlled down to the millimeter. The oil enters large stainless steel columns, the deodorization columns. Inside, it is heated to approximately 200 degrees Celsius, sometimes slightly higher, under a very high vacuum. Under these conditions, superheated steam is injected, passing through the oil. This steam carries with it the volatile molecules responsible for odors and certain residual tastes. Everything is extremely sensitive. If the temperature exceeds the limits, the oil risks oxidizing or degrading. If it is too low, undesirable compounds remain. Digital sensors continuously monitor temperature, pressure, steam flow, and vacuum level. Valves and automated systems adjust the process in real time. The result is a clear, bright liquid, free of strong odors, the purity standard sought by the food industry. At this stage, each drop has already traveled dozens of meters of piping, passed through tanks, columns, and filters, to reach the large final reservoirs, thoroughly cleaned and disinfected, where the oil rests awaiting bottling. Sunflower oil that has gone through all these refining phases still cannot be sold directly. First, it must pass quality control. This is the work of the in-house laboratories, the true guardians of purity. In these cleanrooms, technicians in white coats take samples from each tank. The first parameter measured is the acidity index. If the value exceeds a very strict threshold, for example 0.2%, the entire batch may be blocked or even rejected. Next come the color, odor, and transparency tests, carried out visually, but also with the help of optical sensors capable of detecting particles invisible to the naked eye. Some laboratories use spectrophotometers, devices that measure how light passes through the oil. The slightest abnormal variation can reveal the presence of impurities, oxidation, or defects. The thermal stability test involves heating the oil for several hours to verify that it doesn't darken or develop deposits. It's impressive to think that this seemingly ordinary product on store shelves is actually a certified liquid, measured and tested from every angle before it even reaches your kitchen. At this stage, the sunflower oil is literally a laboratory product, validated drop by drop. Once all the indicators are green, the large tanks are finally authorized to supply the next stage, the one that transforms this liquid into a finished product, automated bottling. After its green light in the laboratory, the sunflower oil heads towards the most spectacular part of the factory, the bottling line. This is where the golden liquid takes on its commercial form and becomes the oil you recognize on store shelves. It all begins when giant tanks pump the oil to high-speed filling lines. On long steel or plastic conveyors, hundreds of plastic or glass bottles advance in single file. Sensors detect each bottle and position it precisely under a filling nozzle. In fractions of a second, the exact quantity of oil is measured and dispensed. On a single line, up to 15,000 bottles can be filled per hour, sometimes more in the most modern plants. The noise is constant, the clicking of valves, the whirring of motors, the friction of conveyors. The caps are automatically fed from hoppers, oriented correctly, and then screwed or crimped onto the bottlenecks. Vacuum or pressure control systems verify that each bottle is perfectly sealed. The bottles then pass through labeling machines that apply the required information: brand, volume, energy value, best before date, water number, origin. Robotic arms then pick up the bottles by the pack and group them into bundles wrapped in shrink-wrapped plastic film, which is heated to ensure a perfect seal. The bundles are then placed on pallets, ready for storage and shipping. This seamless operation is only possible thanks to a centralized control system that monitors the flow rate, pressure, temperature, and speed of each machine in real time. A slight variation on a line can be corrected immediately to prevent losses or blockages. It's a veritable industrial choreography governed by sensors and algorithms. Once packaged, the sunflower oil leaves the production area and is transported to vast, climate-controlled storage warehouses. These buildings can cover the equivalent of several football fields, with pallet racking sometimes reaching up to 8 meters high. Each pallet contains hundreds, or even more than 1,000 bottles, and electric forklifts move continuously to position or retrieve them. Electronic labels and RFID chips allow for continuous tracking of each batch's location, production date, and destination. A large factory can ship up to several hundred tons of sunflower oil per day, equivalent to hundreds of thousands of bottles. Trucks depart for the logistics centers of major retailers, wholesalers, food processing companies, or even ports when the oil is destined for export. Because oil is sensitive to heat and light, logistics are optimized. This includes rapid loading, sometimes nighttime transport, and storage protected from high temperatures. Even after leaving the factory, checks are still carried out in certain depots to ensure that quality remains perfectly consistent. After all that travel, it becomes difficult to look at a simple bottle of sunflower oil without perceiving the industrial scale behind it. Because this liquid isn't just for frying chips or dressing salads. It's also one of the most versatile oils in the world. Beyond cooking, sunflower oil is used as a base for many cosmetics, creams, lotions, and skincare products thanks to its light texture and high vitamin E content. It can serve as a light industrial lubricant, an ingredient in paints, and even a raw material for biofuels. In some parts of Europe, agricultural tractors already run on pure vegetable oils, similar to those used in cooking. Researchers are also exploring its potential as a raw material for producing more sustainable plastics or more environmentally friendly resins, capable of partially replacing petroleum derivatives. In other words, the same flower that colors fields yellow could one day help reduce some of the planet's plastic waste. And here's one last interesting fact. The sunflower is one of the few plants that follows the sun from sunrise to sunset. This movement, called heliotropism, is almost a perfect metaphor for the process you just discovered, a constant search for light, energy, and transformation. From the tiny seed sown in a field to the pallets stacked in warehouses, each step of this cycle is a blend of human ingenuity and collaboration with nature. Tell me honestly, before this video, did you really think about the whole process behind a bottle of oil before it even reaches your kitchen, or had you never considered it? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep discovering the incredible behind-the-scenes stories of the factories that keep the world running.